Christmas holidays are some of the most popular times to view pornography. In this video, I'm going to show you how to be sure you end up on the right side of this stat and stay totally clean during the holiday season. My name is Sathya Sam. I'm a men's transformation coach, international speaker, and author, and I've spent the last 6 years of my life dedicated to helping men quit pornography. So as a starting point, you might be wondering why Christmas is such a vulnerable time for relapses. And there's a couple of reasons for this. I should clarify that actual Christmas Day is one of the lowest traffic days in the entire calendar year for pornography sites. Now, that's pretty obvious. We're spending time with loved ones, we're occupied with our new gifts. There's a whole bunch of different reasons. But if you look at the traffic before Christmas and after Christmas, collectively, that Christmas week is actually a very high traffic season for porn websites. Now, there's a few reasons for this. The first thing is we know that as exciting and as great and wonderful as the holidays can be, they can also be really stressful and really lonely. And as a matter of fact, those are two of the big contributing factors during the Christmas holidays. So let's think about this. You're lonely because maybe you think during Christmas, I should be with family and friends. I should feel super happy and connected. But for one reason or another, maybe you're not spending time with family and friends, or you are spending time with family and friends, but you're not really feeling that connected to them. And this disconnect in your expectations and your reality creates this feeling of loneliness, and pornography becomes a really easy way to medicate and to soothe that loneliness feeling. Now, I also mentioned stress. Stress is a really common cause for relapses during the holiday season because let's not kid ourselves. In addition to all the nice food and all of the parties and family gatherings, there's a lot of stress. There's financial pressures, there's expectations. Maybe, family gatherings can be a little bit tense sometimes, or there's certain relationships that have been fractured. All of these things contribute to stress during the holidays. And if we don't have healthy ways of coping, then pornography becomes a really easy outlet to take the edge off and to provide a little bit of relief. Another thing that causes all these Christmas relapses is unstructured days. Now, this is something I talk about on my podcast all the time, that it's really important that we have structure to our days as men. Doesn't mean that every single minute is accounted for, but when you're going through the holiday season, you're out of your rhythm, you're out of your routine. And as a result, that lack of structure sometimes gets our minds into these places where we push our boundaries, we don't pay as much attention, our guard is down, and we end up in some really dangerous situations. So that's why I highly recommend that you structure your days. And like I said, it doesn't have to be every single minute. There's a specific way to do this. You can check out my podcast. I talk about this all the time. And in fact, last Christmas, I did a bunch of concentrated content on this subject. You can go check it out if you want some more guidance. But the point here is don't just bite the bait that because it's holidays, you can do whatever you want. You'll pick everything back up again in the new year. You want to have a little bit of structure even during the holidays to ensure that you don't have any unnecessary slips. Now, the last reason that Christmas is really popular for relapses is food and drink. Okay, let's think about it. You're probably consuming a bit more alcohol. You're having more sweet treats. It's weird, but food actually plays a huge role in the strength of our defenses. A lot of our clients, when we look back at some of the relapses they've had, especially if they've had some really bad ones during the holidays, alcohol is a very common one because, again, alcohol lowers your inhibitions, it changes your decision-making process, and you tend to push boundaries that you wouldn't push otherwise. Food is the same way. If you're eating a lot of sweet treats, you're overindulging, you're actually creating these dopamine surges in your brain. That becomes very addictive, and eventually the food wears off or you feel full, but your brain is still craving that dopamine, and now it starts to see things like pornography as a result. So we've talked about why the holidays could be a more vulnerable time for you. Let's talk about some things that you can do to make sure that you stay clean this entire holiday season. The first thing, and I already mentioned it, is structuring your time. Okay, this is really, really important. Just having some priorities for the day goes a long way. Keeping some of your rhythms and some of your routines, especially in the morning and evening, those things are going to go a long way to ensuring you stay clean during the holidays. The second thing is we want to connect with intentionality. So what I mean by that is you might have some family gatherings where, okay, you get together with your family, it's going to be a 6 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, but it's still important that you connect with them. What I'm saying is, in addition to some of those more obligatory family events that you have or friend events, Be intentional about connecting with people where you're going to have an 8 out of 10, a 9 out of 10 kind of interaction. So these are obviously your close friends and your loved ones, people who mean something to you. Those are the people that you want to be spending concentrated time with. Be intentional. The holidays are busy. You might need to do some planning in advance. You might need to be a little bit persistent trying to set it up. Even an hour with a really good friend can go a long way to keeping your heart full during the holidays. And if your heart is full, you're going to be less likely to wander and seek things out like pornography. The third thing you want to do is set some boundaries. So what I mean by that is have an idea of where you're going to be more vulnerable and more prone to relapsing, and make sure you set some guardrails. So if you tend to have a lot more nighttime slips, then have some boundaries around when you're going to be on devices and when you're not going to be on devices. If there's certain content or certain holiday movies that you find triggering, you might need to not watch those holiday movies, even though they're tradition and they're part of the season. If it means preventing a relapse, it's going to be worth it. Just think about the areas where you're more prone. And what I would actually do is I would reflect back on the last few Christmases. And when you had relapses during Christmas, when were they happening? Where were they happening? What was going on? Try to identify some patterns in your history that you can protect and guard against, and then set up the appropriate boundaries and guidelines to ensure that this holiday is different and that you don't fall into those old patterns. Now, the last thing that I recommend during the holidays is that you engage spiritually. The holidays can be a lot about gifts and commercialization of the holiday and feasting and family and friends, and all of that stuff is so good. But generally speaking, if you grew up with any kind of religious background, Christmas also has a faith component to it. I'm a person of faith, and sometimes I get swept up in all of the, craze around Christmas, and I forget that this is actually a really spiritually significant holiday for Christians, for someone like myself who is faith-based. Make sure that you're engaging spiritually during the holidays. This is going to do a couple things. Number one, it's going to keep you focused and regulated during a time that can be very stressful and chaotic. The second thing this is going to do is this is going to allow you to connect with God. And if you connect meaningfully with God, you're going to be less likely to engage in things like pornography. And the third thing that engaging spiritually does is provide a safety blanket, so that even if you do have a really stressful day or a really lonely day or something really triggering, you have something that you can lean back on that's going to catch you, that's going to help you recenter and stay focused so that you can have a clean holiday season. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite Christmas movie is. I'd love to hear it. I'm always curious. And as usual, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.